from the College by the Lake, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Local, regional, national, and international guests discussing the issues and topics affecting the way you live are on Forum, the North Idaho College Public Forum, with your host and moderator, political scientist Tony Stewart.
We have an annual program that we bring you that honors the holiday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and this program usually comes later in the year rather than in January by the time that we air it. During the month of January, 2 students are chosen as winners of what we call the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Essay Contest from the 2 high schools in our county, Kootenai County, Idaho. One of those winners is from Coeur d'Alene High School, and the other one is from Lake City High School. We are now bringing you this annual program. And I'm very pleased to announce this year's winners. First of all is Marty Bechtel. He is the winner at the Lake City High School for his essay on human rights and Dr. King. And he is a senior this year. He has been homeschooled, but also has participated at Lake City High School on the debate team and has taken some other courses outside the home. Marty, welcome to our program, and we congratulate you for what has happened, and we look forward to your reading your essay and talking with us today.
It's good to be here.
And I'm equally happy to welcome to our program Crystal Poole. She is also the essay winner at the Coeur d'Alene High School, and she is a sophomore, and we're very happy that you're with us, and we'll share your essay, and welcome to the program.
Thanks.
I'm also very pleased to welcome to the program my very good friend and the former superintendent of the school district in which these 2 high schools are located. He recently retired from that position, but I'm also proud to announce that he is the president of the Kootenai County Task Force on Human Relations Board of Directors. He's going to join me with our questioning, and I do welcome my friend Doug Criswell to the program. And I would like to say, Doug, to our viewers that you have worked with us for years on the children's program in January through the school district, and again, you're doing fine work with the task force, and thank you for participating and joining us and congratulating our winners this year.
Thank you, Tony. It's good to be here and participate in the program.
I'm going to start the program today with inviting both of you to read your essays. And Crystal, why don't we start with your essay, and you might want to have a little introduction to it and then read it to our good viewers throughout the Northwest.
Okay, the essay, my teacher, she told us that the topic was kind of wide open, just how we felt how human rights were in the United States, and just kind of go from there. So I'd entitled my essay, Human Dignity and Justice for All. I wish for a land without hate, the hate of race, color, religion, or gender. In the U.S., it is not just white against black. Our country is fortunate to have a variety of nationalities within its borders. African Americans, Caucasians, Mexicans, Chinese, Japanese, Hispanic, and many others. We have a wonderfully diverse nation. We are lucky to have the opportunity to have so many cultures intertwined. We have so much to give and learn from each other if we can only look past our prejudices. I was recently in a fast food restaurant where the cashiers were Chinese. An African American walked up to the counter very upset. His sandwich had been made incorrectly. He started shouting at one of the cashiers about how if he couldn't learn to speak English, he needed to go back to his own country. This cashier is a second-generation U.S. citizen. This is his country. The African American continued to shout and complain as he left the restaurant. The prejudice and hate radiated from him. I was ashamed of his behavior, and I was saddened for the cashier. The U.S. was founded by great people who dreamed to give us all a land where we could worship freely without prejudice. We need to uphold their dreams. We need to make this country what it could and should be, a place where no matter where you are, you can speak how you want, speak any language, basically be who you are. And above all, respect each other as human beings. We are all people. We all have dreams and hopes and feelings. You've probably heard people say, well, I don't like the way my community thinks or acts, but what can I do about it? One person can make a difference. We can help the generations yet to come not to hate. Hate usually comes from the fear of the unknown or ignorance. It only takes one voice willing to take a stand, and others will too. My children will grow up learning to love people because of our differences. I dream of the day when we can really call this country the United States, when we are truly united as human beings. It is our duty to achieve human dignity and justice for all.
Crystal, thank you so much. That was most moving and really eloquent. In fact, you are now ready for college, even a sophomore. We'd be very proud to have you in our class. We're now going to turn to Marty Bechtel. And Marty, you might want to give us a little bit of background, and then would you also share with us your essay?
Okay, about the background of my essay, basically what I did is it's based on the idea that ideas have consequences. And so what I'm going is I'm going through the basis of how human dignity is disregarded. Why is human dignity disregarded in certain instances? What beliefs are a part of this? And you'll notice that in my essay, I kind of talk about evolution, okay? Evolutionary concepts. Now I want to say up front that although I believe evolution justifies some discriminatory beliefs, I do not think that it causes them, okay? But I'm just evaluating the basis. So, okay. The recent movie Gattaca reflects the concepts of human dignity and justice. The story takes place in a futuristic society where all sexism, racism, and homophobia have been wiped out. In this supposed utopia, however, a new evil emerges. The only valid citizens are the test tube babies designed by a geneticist to have the perfect collection of their parents' genes. Children conceived the old-fashioned way are destined to serve menial functions in society. Their resumes are their inferior blood samples. The message of the movie is that there must be more to life than biological determinism can admit. It poses the question, how can the concept of human dignity exist in a society based on the concept of evolution? If man is nothing more than a machine, what is justice? These questions are cries for meaning in man's existence. The movie did not answer them, and there is no answer if we did evolve. Justice and human dignity will exist only as long as society understands that the universe was created by a supreme being, and hence moral absolutes or transcendent truths exist. So first of all, what are moral absolutes, and how do they relate to dignity and justice? The belief in moral absolutes is one of two perceptions of truth. It is the idea that truth exists and that it is knowable. It is the idea that there are things which are true and other things which are false, that there are behaviors which are right and those which are wrong. Moreover, it's the idea that truth and that which is right does not change or evolve, regardless of how far technology advances or how much society changes. The other perception of truth, often called moral relativism, is the idea that there is no real truth for all people and for all time. The concept of human dignity is inseparable from our view of truth because depending on how we look at truth, dignity is either a quality every man has because he is created in the image of God, or no man has. Admittedly, evolutionists attempt to explain how right and wrong evolved. Michael Ruse and Edward Wilson have said, ethics is an illusion fobbed off on us by our genes to get us to cooperate. Ethical codes work because they drive us to go against our selfish day-to-day impulses in favor of long-term group survival and harmony. But it would seem that in this century, the illusion hasn't worked. Professor R.J. Rumd, in his book Lethal Politics, estimates that in the 20th century alone, over 119 million people have been murdered by their own governments. This definitely shows that if evolution is true, it's not focusing on cooperation. This staggering figure does not even include the 35,700,000 people killed in both foreign and domestic wars. The obvious question arising when faced with this horror is how could it happen? Why did Nikita Khrushchev, under the hand of Stalin, cause millions of Ukrainians, fellow human beings, to die of famine and mass execution? Why did Hitler cause the murder of 6 million Jews? The answer is that Khrushchev and Hitler thought they were doing the right thing according to their system of ethics. According to their system of ethics, human life has no inherent dignity. They acted on their beliefs in evolution. Now, America was founded on the belief that all men are created equal and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. This belief is regarded by our Declaration of Independence as self-evident. Sadly, though, in spite of that document, men have not always treated each other as though they were equal. Racism, discrimination, and other social injustices which are caused by the discrimination of the disregard of human dignity have always been with us. Racism didn't die after the Emancipation Proclamation. It didn't die after Martin Luther King so valiantly proclaimed his dream in Washington. And it won't die completely ever because human nature is evil. So in light of human nature, how is America able to be the land of opportunity, a land where human rights is recognized? The answer is not found in legislation or even government education. The answer is simple. It lies in moral absolutes, the transcendent truths that prevent man's thoughts and hence his actions from spiraling to despair. The belief in absolutes, or at least the presumption that absolutes exist, has made our freedom and culture possible.
Well, Marty, thank you very much. And again, both of you have given much thought and a lot of work to this, and certainly it illustrates the research that's gone into it and your thoughts. And so I'm very eager to join with Doug and to talk to you more about your beliefs and your philosophies and why we stop every year to look at the questions of human dignity and human rights. And Doug, again, I've said to you many times before, these are the kind of products that come out of our school systems and our work, and I'd like to have you at this time to join me and to question our guest.
Well, let me add my congratulations and to each one of you. Your presentations were very well done, and certainly thought-provoking. I guess the first question that I would ask is, generally the theme for the essays this year was human dignity and justice for all. I guess I would want to begin by asking your opinion of students at Coeur d'Alene High School, students at Lake City High School, and whether there is human dignity and justice for all students at your two high schools, no matter what their differences. What you think students in our high schools today treat each other well?
Yes and no. I think that people at my high school, I think a lot of them, they value people as themselves. A lot of people don't have respect for different groups, and I mean, everybody knows that high schools are they're kind of, you get in your groups and stuff and you go around, but there are a lot of them, I know a lot of people who, they say, well, this group is bad because they do this and this and this, and they don't look at them as people, but more as what they do and what sports they're in, or what they do on the weekends, or what kind of a person that, they look at what they see and what they see on the outside and stuff, instead of the person that they are within. And I think that's kind of what human dignity is all about, is just respecting people for being who they are. And a lot of people feel, I don't know about the justice and all of it. With me, in one of my classes, we discuss a lot on what we think about values and what goes on with that type of stuff. And a lot of times, and a lot of things, people think that some of my classmates don't feel that there is a lot of justice in a lot of the way things go. But
thank you.
My perception of the high school environment, from going there to one class this year as a homeschool student participating in the high school, is that I think the high school is really good with being tolerant of all sorts of beliefs, all sorts of anything that you believe in. They're really very tolerant.
So, if I can follow up on what Doug is saying, oftentimes on this show, when I have this honor to talk to two students from the high school because of what you've done, I go into a philosophical question that takes us across the globe and looking at the human race. And I know, Marty, you've addressed this partially in your essay too. If we can get to which is very difficult to do, but if we can get to the depth of society and human relationships, and certainly, Crystal, you were talking about that with an example that you had. What motivates some people to be what appears to be of such a good human spirit and kind and reaching out to people, and other people find hate in life and are angry and often are very hurtful to other people. I've often thought of human rights as an individual having a choice between two paths, two roads, and people opt for a different path. What's behind that? What causes that?
I think a lot of what helps is how they're how they're raised, what kind of values. I think a lot of values are taught by the people you're around, your parents, your friends, your teachers, just the people that you interact with as you're growing up. Most people they don't choose to believe in something that they've never seen or never experienced. And so I think that we draw a lot of what we believe from people that we see and how they react with their beliefs. So I think that's a lot where they choose their paths, is what they get involved in, and what choices they make, leads them down to those people that they see.
So you're really very convinced that environmental influence, that we're a product of our environment, and the family is part of that that's so important. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'll have a follow-up question, then we'll go to Marty. But are you saying that individuals are not born with these attitudes, that it's a learned behavior?
I don't think that people are born with beliefs, no. Because if you could take a person and you couldn't predict that they'd turn out the same way if you brought them up in a different country, in a different environment with different. I think a lot of personality traits and things like that. If you are in genetic, I don't know for sure what's in exactly, but a lot of genetics and stuff. I know that some things would be the same, but your beliefs and how you live your life, your culture and stuff would be different, depending on where you were born and where you were raised.
And the values and attitudes that are presented to you.
Yeah.
Marty?
I believe that people are definitely affected by their environment, but they aren't solely affected by their environment. Getting back to what I was saying with tolerance, the schools are really teaching tolerance, but they aren't really getting into truth. It's kind of like all truth is okay, all right? And the way this relates to human rights is, how do you know? What basis do you, let's say certain people, like the racists in northern Idaho, believe that it is, that racism is okay. It's okay to be a supremacist person. Well, what's their basis for that? Their basis is they're disregarding human dignity. But basically what I'm saying in here is that we also have to be careful to acknowledge human dignity as well as to not disregard it. And I think if we don't acknowledge human dignity by saying that we are more than just the products of our environment, by saying that we aren't just determined by genetics, then that's what's going to help people to understand, about racism. What's the problem with our nation?
Let me follow up on that. I really hear you saying that there's at least two-step process to recognize it and then act upon it, to live it. But would you agree that as a child is growing up, that it's very important that both that they are taught and also the behavior toward them is one that does teach and illustrate what human dignity is? That if a child is brought up in an environment where they do not understand or they're mistreated, their opportunity to understand human dignity has been lessened?
Oh, definitely. But what I'm trying to say is that if you teach someone that there is no right and wrong, that's not the same as teaching them that people have human dignity. Because if there's no right and wrong, you can say that, okay, Johnny, you shouldn't be mean to this person, and you shouldn't be bad. You shouldn't act in a bad way. But that's not going to register. How does bad work in a world with no moral absolutes?
In other words, human dignity, part of its definition would be that you treat people with goodness and kindness, and you show. There's a key word, and we talk about in that process, and that has to do with believing in rectitude, justice, also having a respect for others. That is a value, and therefore you would say that would then evolve into the great appreciation of human dignity. Doug, I'll turn it back to you.
Recently, the Aryan Nations made application to the city of Coeur d'Alene for a parade permit. And what in the newspapers and through the media, why the issue has been raised of First Amendment rights, that is the right to free speech and demonstration, versus the subject, and essentially, we consider it a hate march. What is your opinion about this march, this application? Should it be approved, and or what should be done about it? What are your thoughts?
I think it's definitely a hate march, and I think that anyone who knows when they're coming down the street in that parade should really turn their backs if they are going to stand by their beliefs about that racism is wrong. Of course, they have a free right. They have their right to go and march in that parade, I think, but that doesn't mean that people have to accept them. And I think if people really turned their backs on that sort of movement, then it wouldn't be as strong.
I agree. I've been talking with my classmates in all my different classes, in several of my different classes, about I wanted to get some opinions on, I'd seen it in the newspaper and wanted to get the opinions of how different people in my school felt, and I got usually one or two reactions. One of the reactions was that they don't agree with what they're doing, but they feel that they have the right to be able to have to have their march, to have their parade. They feel like they have the right and that we can't do anything about it, and that that we don't have to go and support it. They can go ahead and have their parade, but they feel that the parade would be wrong. What the parade would stand for, what the Aryan Nation stands for, is wrong. And the other reaction that people had was that it shouldn't be allowed at all. That they shouldn't be able to use equality to show off their inequality of racism and showing that people aren't equal. That they thought that was kind of ironic, and that they shouldn't be allowed to have the parade because that is it's like giving them more recognition, more things, more support. Almost is making a big deal about it. And a lot of people said, just ignore it. Don't even, if they want to have their parade, fine, don't go to it, don't attend it. Kind of like Marty said, turn your backs, just ignore it, don't give it any publicity, because that just gives them more of the recognition and the publicity. And my personal opinion is that I don't feel that what they stand for is right. I feel so deeply of human values. I just value life, and human beings are, the potential within every single person is great. And for them to say that there is a group that doesn't fit that, it scares me that people can believe that, because I don't know how you can look at someone and, one of the, and with Martin Luther King and stuff, if you cut someone else, they bleed the same color. No matter who you are, you can't name someone who doesn't have a dream, who can't be insulted and feel bad, who doesn't go through trials and joys. That's part of life. And to say that someone is less than you because of a color of their skin or because of a difference between you and them, I feel is wrong. So,
thank you.
I want to talk a little bit about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. because that's why we do this. That's why we have the essay contest. And of course, he gave many speeches and led many marches, and he has written some really interesting work in his books. He was a follower of the philosophy of Gandhi, and certainly one thing Dr. King always taught was nonviolence. And I'd like to give you both the opportunity to share with our viewers what you've learned from the writings and the teachings of Dr. King. And Marty, can we start with you?
Okay. Martin Luther King said that he dreamed of a day when his 4 little children would be valued or would be judged by the content of their character and not by the color of their skin. I think that's really key. Character, okay? People need to be judged by their character. Of course, not by aspects that don't have anything to do with their character. But you need to know what character is in order to be able to do that. I think when Martin Luther King was talking, people basically knew, okay, character is this, But if society doesn't really have a standard with which to judge character, then I think discrimination can take place. And it'll take place because the majority will force its opinions and will coerce the minority.
You keep referring back to this, and I think this is a significant point in your essay and work is, you've talked a lot about human dignity, which is an extremely important concept. But as you do that, you always, if I'm hearing you right, Marty, you keep talking about the essence of who a person is inside, and you bring out Dr. King's discussion on the content of the character. So it comes down to what one is. As sometimes we talk about this in the essence of a being as their human spirit. And so if that is a certain way, that is then in turn going to determine how you react and treat other people. Have I heard that correctly?
Your spirit is going to determine how you react.
Who you are and your human spirit and your essence and what you value.
Basically what you believe. What you believe is really crucial and important. Ideas have consequences.
Thank you. Crystal, have you respond to that also?
My first one of the reasons Dr. Martin Luther King, I have an appreciation for what he taught, and because I have a friend who is half black. Her mother is white and her father is black, and she's really involved in a lot of the Martin Luther King activities and stuff that go on, and she was one of my really good friends, and we'd talk a lot about what he'd say, and I see a lot of people who would make really little of her activities and stuff. She'd get really excited about them, and people would just, oh, it's no big deal, this holiday comes around every year, it's a day off from school, and stuff like that. And I think it's really important that we realize that he wasn't, it's not just something that comes around once a year or something. Valuing people, like he taught about, where like he dreamed of, his big I Have a Dream speech was so powerful, of talking about that you can't judge someone just because of the color of their skin. You can't just say, okay, well, we'll make you're free. We'll make you free on a piece of paper. It doesn't make someone free. It doesn't give someone, it doesn't make someone equal with you in, not being judged by that type, by your skin or by any difference that you have of belief or culture. And that's one thing that strikes me about him, is that he seems to always stand for that people should be judged for who they are and not what you see on the outside.
So you're reading into, I think, some of the things that Marty is, the character and the dignity of a person, and if we all share that, then the end result is very different, and that would eliminate prejudice and bigotry. I've been given the word that we're out of time, and on behalf of Doug Criswell and our staff, I congratulate both of you. For me, it's been a really wonderful program, and I admire you, and you have inspired me, and I thank you for your time on our program.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed this program as much as we have enjoyed bringing it to you, and I'd like to invite you to be with us again next week at this same time, when we shall discuss yet another issue. Until then, please have a good week. I am Tony Stewart.
The North Idaho College Public Forum was videotaped live from the studios of Instructional Technology on the campus of North Idaho College for viewing at this more appropriate time. We invite you to join us again next week for another all-new edition of the North Idaho College Public Forum on this public television station.